Hey Mary C. Williams friends, it's Miss Britt here. I wanted to show you what we're going to be working on, and then I'm going to turn the camera down onto my piece of paper so that I can do it and show you all the ways on one piece of paper, because I can't fit it all on my whiteboard. So I wanted to put it all on one piece of paper since I'm only doing one problem today. If I feel like I need to do a second problem, I'm going to make one up. So we are going to be completing lesson 54 today. Go to your own core math book, page 107. I am going to be completing number 4, and then your job will be to do 5 and 6. And you have to use at least one of the ways that I'm going to talk about. You do not have to do the work for 5 and 6, all the ways that I'm going to do, but I'm going to do at least 3 different ways to show you how to figure out which fraction is greater, which one is the least, and which one is in the middle, because our job is going to be to order them from least to greatest. That's our job. All right, so I'm going to flip the camera over and start working. All right, number 4, write the fractions in order from least to greatest. So I have number 4, I have 9/10, I have 1/2, and I have 4/5. So the first way that we are going to do this is our old trusty way, which is using area models. So let's start out by doing area models. Now remember, you need to draw 3 separate fraction bars. So 1, and I like to keep mine right on top of each other. 2, 3. So this first one is going to represent 9/10. The second one is going to represent 1/2, and the third one is going to represent 4/5. So we've got our 3 rectangles, and we need to break this one into tenths. Now 10 is an even number, so we want to start out by cutting it in the middle first. And wherever my middle at is on here, I'm going to make sure that it is my middle here. And here, I'm gonna put my little halfway mark there because I know that 5 is not an even number, so it doesn't actually split right down the middle for fifths. So now let's make this tenths. We need 5 and 5. 5 is not an even number, so 2 and 3. Again, gotta make 2 and 3. And I'm trying really hard to make them even. That's why I'm also using a pencil today. Okay, 1/2 is already done, 1/2. And then 4/5. Gonna do about right there. That one looks a little bit big. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tenths. Okay, we've got 1/2. And we've got 4/5. All right, very easy for me to see that this one is going to be my smallest. So this is my least, from least to greatest. So least would be 1. One-half. And then I'm looking, and it looks like This one comes about right here, and I know that that is true because 4/5 is the same thing as 8/10. Well, how do you know that right off the top of your head, Miss Britt? Because 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10. So 8/10 is less than 9/10. So next we have 4/5, and finally we have 9/10. All right, there's one way using area models. Now I'm going to show you linear models. You do the same exact thing, except this time you're going to be doing number lines. But all 3 of your number lines have to be the same length. I'm going to get rid of this for the time being. All right, so you can do this with linear models. Linear models. And again, we're going to have 9/10 over here. This is 0, this is 1, and we need to split it into tenths. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. We need to find 9/10, which is here, because that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of the 10 spaces. So there's 9/10. Now we've got 0 and 1 here. This is going to be 1/2. We're only going to split it in 2 places. Right there is my 1/2. Put my dot for my linear model. And finally we have 4/5. One fifth, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. That one might be a little bit too far over. Right there's my 4/5. And I can tell by my linear models, 9/10, 1/2, 4/5. Same thing, we're going to have the least to greatest relationship, least, and then the greatest, least to greatest. Now the last way, so these are the 2 ways that we taught you right from the beginning, because in 4th grade you really need to understand area and linear models. Now this next way is what we've been doing, which is changing the denominator. So when we find a common denominator, when you find common denominators, it keeps you from having to draw models. And you can do it any way you want to. You can draw your area model, you can draw your linear model, or you can do common denominators. I find making common denominators is probably the easiest way. All right, so these are our 3 fractions. We need to stack them on the side, and we need to look at the denominators. What are the multiples of 10? Multiples of 10. 10, 20, 30, and we could keep going. What about the multiples of 2? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. What about the multiples of 5? 5, 10. The moment you find a multiple that they have in common, that is going to become your new denominator. So instead of, well, in this case, it's not going to change. 9/10 is going to stay the same, because if the denominator is going to be 10 and the denominator was already 10, then it's not going to change. So 9/10 is going to stay the same and still equal 9/10. But over here, we're going to take 1/2 and we're going to ask ourselves 1/2 equals how many tenths? How many tenths is in 1/2? And then we're going to ask ourselves 4/5 equals how many tenths? So these are the two things that we need to figure out. If we're at 2, what do we do to 2 to get to 10? Since this number is getting larger, I know I'm going to be multiplying. What am I going to multiply by? Perfect. 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So if I multiply by 5 to get 10, then I have to multiply the top by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Perfect. Down here, 4/5 equals how many tenths? 5 to 10. What do I have to do to 5 to get to 10? 10 is greater than 5, so I am going to be multiplying. 5 times 2. Perfect. 5 times 2 is 10. So 4 times 2 is 8. Perfect. So now I know that these fractions that I started with are all equivalent fractions. These are their equivalent fractions. So 9/10 is 9/10, 1/2 is 5/10, and 4/5 is 8/10. So when they all have the same denominator, all I have to do is look at the numerator. 9 is bigger than 5, 5 is less than 8, 8 is less than 9, so put them in order. It would be 9/10 is the greatest, 8/10 is a little bit smaller, and 5/10 is smaller than 8/10. So from least to greatest, it would be 5/10, 8/10, and 9/10. Well, those aren't the fractions we started with, so we need to look back over here, which we've already done it here. 5/10 equals the same thing as 1/2. 4/5 equals the same thing as 8/10, and then 9/10 stayed the same because the denominator never actually changed. All right, so that's 3 different ways to do your work. For number 4, you can use area models, linear models, or my personal favorite, which is common denominators. So your choice, whatever way you'd like.